and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove. I'm at the table with the World Cup Comedy Tour. To my right, Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello.
Directly ahead of me, Christian Polanco of the Cooligans. Hello.
Hello.
And to my... That's not fair. To my diagonal right, Alexis Guerreros of the Cooligans also. Hello.
Cheerio.
That means goodbye.
Oh, does it? What the hell am I supposed to know?
So this is going to be a listener question special with the Total Soccer Show and the Cooligans. But before we get into it, we got to talk tour. We did the Atlanta show last night. It was the final night of the World Cup Comedy Tour. Christian, how do you feel now it's over?
I'm very sleepy. I just want to sleep. I want to sleep. I'm going to sleep on this podcast, so I hope the listeners enjoy that entertaining content.
I'm sure Alexis will more than make up for it.
I got your back, dog.
No, I'm ecstatic. This was incredible. It's weird that it's already over because it felt like...
It feels like maybe we have a show tonight, right?
Still. Yeah, we developed a routine. You know, at first it was a shock, and you know the constant traveling, constantly preparing for a show, and then and now that it's all over, we kind of feel like we have no purpose. You know, we're like you know those we're like an army vet that's done and can't go back to war, but they really want to. You know, that's I really want to just go out and you know. Kill people again. I was saying
some of your jokes killed.
I was saying last night, if you like have a room full of people clapping for you every other night, it gets to the point where you're like, well, how do I get a room full of people to clap for me again? Sure. I don't know how we're gonna do it.
Yeah, I don't often look back at things that were difficult and say I want to do them again. That's not one of my not one of my traits. But I'm still kind of nervous that tonight's show is not going to have enough people, and there is no show tonight. Like
attendance is probably zero tonight.
Yeah, and also it kind of sucks that you guys live so far away from us. Like we've developed like this close friendship that like a lot of our fans like. Some of them don't. Some of your fans in particular don't like your friendship with me. But it's this thing where like we've gotten along so well. It's like, damn. I'm not going to have them to throw, like, you know, to get easy laughs.
I mean, we've offered you the option of moving to Richmond. You all seem disinclined to take us up on that.
I'll look at my couch cushions to see if I have enough change to afford rent down there. But if
I mean, I feel like
funny because where you live is too expensive.
There it is. I was going to say, I think that's a burn on you, man.
You need all that change. Keep that change, dude.
I'm sweating now thinking about it. I'm not going to hit rent without that change. So get a bag of nickels.
Let's not get too deep into reminiscing on the World Cup Comedy Tour on the Total Soccer Show, because on today's episode of the Cooligans, we'll be doing the same thing. Right?
Absolutely.
So maybe we'll save that for later because our time in the A-Loft downtown Atlanta hotel conference room is limited.
Wait, when are you releasing this episode?
I mean, not long after it's recorded.
All right, so then tomorrow's episode of the Cooligans.
Correct.
Oh, you guys do like a 24-hour like quarantine?
No, we just release
it
every Wednesday.
Oh, I see. I see.
We're not like you guys. We're not willy-nilly
throwing a podcast.
We got a routine. I don't know about you guys.
Putting up the podcast at Sunday at 4 a.m. That's weird.
Come on, listen in. This is what we just did.
So even though the tour's over, we're still in town in Atlanta for the MLS All-Star Game. I just want to have a quick chat about what we're looking forward to at the MLS All-Star Game.
I can't wait to watch Zlatan. I think he's going to be really impressive against
I wonder how
UVA.
he plays with David Villa.
It's going to be so exciting.
The chemistry is going to be wild.
I can say this much. They're not going to make any mistakes.
Who are you guys excited to see? Obviously, Zlatan's not there. Ronaldo's not playing for Juve. Is there anyone in particular you're looking forward to watching?
Yeah, Chesney. Taking over for Juventus. Let's go. He still hates Tottenham. Come on, Chesney.
I'm just going to yell, where's Buffon? For the whole game.
I don't know if there's anyone in particular. I know last year watching the MLS All-Stars play against Real Madrid, I was just kind of collectively, I just want MLS to play well and to win. And when we were interviewing some of the players afterwards, you know, I remember Stephen Fry had said, you know, if we they lost in penalties, but basically if they had won, they would have been like, yeah, we beat Real Madrid. Yeah. But since they lost, it'd be like, this wasn't a big deal. This game doesn't mean anything. Yeah. And that's very much how they felt.
Can we get into that? Like, how much does the All-Star Game matter? Because the more I think about it, the more I think it's more about all the other stuff that's happening around the game than the actual importance of the game.
I mean, that's kind of always how All-Star games work.
Is that right?
I think any sports All-Star game, it's. I mean, yeah, there's always the final thing is the game, but like the NBA All-Star game, you've got the skills challenge and the dunk competition, and there's all this other stuff happening that makes it exciting.
Except baseball, which is the only one that actually determines the who hosts the World Series. Mm-hmm. So that one, before before the game was important. No one really cared, and I think everybody kind of felt that way. But now, it's almost like the only entertaining game in baseball this year.
Weirdly enough, I really should have known that Christian would hit me with baseball. That really should have been something.
Yeah, that's why you guys tuned in. Baseball All-Star Talk.
Here's a question before we get to listener questions.
Yeah.
How useful is the All-Star Game when they play against a big European team, how useful is that as a barometer of the quality of Major League Soccer?
It's just a lose-lose situation for everybody. It's an extra game. If you beat Juventus, everyone says, oh, they were in training, or people make fun of Juventus for losing to Americans, even though 95% of the All-Star team is not American. If you win, they make fun. If we lose, oh, well, there you go. Even their best can't beat a team in their preseason. It's just a lose-lose.
With this.
Yeah, I know. I mean, apparently Mother Nature agrees. But it's just a lose-lose, and I still think you need this spectacle. And from what Christian and I have learned, just talking to people in MLS, the higher ups really love these big sort of what are they called? Like the
spectacles.
The pageantry of certain things. And this is one of those situations. It's an opportunity to get. I mean, everywhere in the city has MLS stuff all over it.
Yeah.
Even more
that happens even without the All-Star game. Though.
No, but like even more, it's MLS All-Star stuff is plastered everywhere. So like there's a good feeling walking around. It makes everyone feel good, except the players.
I would say my final thing on it would be, I think it's good for the league to get people who don't usually watch soccer. I think that's maybe the only bright spot, is that you can always market an all-star game. It's the best players in the league. It's Juventus. They're so good. And you can sort of maybe get a person who might otherwise watch, I don't know, a rerun of Seinfeld on TNT to instead watch the MLS All-Star game.
You can also maybe get a Euro snub because it's Juventus to get them to watch, and then maybe they see Giovinco or they see Tyler Adams and they're like, oh,
lots of maybes in there.
Well, maybe, but
Yeah.
but I think they think, oh, I could watch this Major League Soccer thingy.
I think you have a better shot at getting a Euro snob to be like, hey, maybe I like this one player. I'll see how they do.
Yeah.
And maybe they get a little addicted to MLS versus someone who hates soccer and is like, I know what George Costanza is going to say next. Let's watch this instead. You know what I mean? I think you have a better shot with a Juventus fan, especially because Juventus fans are just glory chasers, right? So
I'm not agreeing to that.
They'll find someone in MLS that's going to win, maybe Atlanta United, since 90% of the team is Atlanta United, and maybe they'll follow them.
It's probably worth noting that the opinions of Alexis Guerreros do not necessarily represent the opinions of the Total
I am
Soccer
familiar
Show.
with the work of the Drugi. No, I do not agree with what Alexis is saying. No, thank you. No, thank you.
My only issue with the game, most MLS All-Star games, the chemistry between the All-Stars is non-existent, right? So they barely know how to pass the ball to each other. They don't know where anybody's going to the spacing. They don't know where to stand. And a lot of times, last year, watching Real Madrid, I mean, Isco, he could have his possession. It might have just been about 85% possession just for Isco exclusively. He did not lose the ball ever. He knew where every single MLS All-Star was at every single time.
So like 3 rows on the possession chart. It's All-Stars, Real Madrid, Isco.
So my only issue with the All-Star game is that usually the All-Star team doesn't look great because they don't know how to play, with each other.
Fair enough. All right, shall we get to listener questions?
Yes. We shall.
So I've only briefly let you guys see these before we hit record.
It wouldn't have mattered. We've already established that.
That's true.
Well, actually, no, it would have mattered. Christian would have prepared.
Yeah, he actually has it
one less
pulled
so.
up on his laptop, and I didn't even bring mine.
Look at that. All right, you guys ready for the first question?
Yes.
First question comes from Tate Rosenhagen, and Tate wants to know,
What a great name.
would promotion and relegation work with other American sports? If so, how would it work? What do we think?
Baseball, immediately right now. There's AAA, AA, single A. The structure's already there.
Yeah. Aren't those, speaking of structure though, aren't those teams the farm teams of major league teams?
Not all of them are owned by those major league teams.
Yeah.
They just have to give up ownership.
Interesting. All right. Okay, so what if, say, a minor league team gets promoted to the big leagues, to major league? That's what they say, right?
Yeah.
Get promoted to
The majors.
The majors to Major League Baseball.
Like sent up for the purposes of baseball.
Sent up. Yeah. Every kid, the sent up, sent down.
Yeah.
What if they get up there, but then they expand their budget, then they get relegated? Could this sink some minor league baseball teams if they get like Icarus?
Well, they got parachute payments in soccer. They'd probably have the same thing in baseball. And
All right.
the TV contract in baseball is so massive, they'll be all right. They'll be just fine.
So they just stash all that money in the bank.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no cap in baseball. There's a luxury tax. So if you spend over a certain dollar amount, you pay taxes back, which is like shared revenue.
Yeah.
That's the money immediately.
So some of those minor league teams will be getting that Yankee luxury tax.
Of course.
They could pocket that as well.
Strangely, I would say that I think it could work better with a league that has such a gulf in class from the NBA to is it still the D League? I don't
no,
even
it's
know.
not the G League, the Gatorade League.
See, there we go. Exemplified. But I would say that's one almost where, and I mean that as you could sell it to the owners as look, any other like lower level franchise is going to take a decade to even come close to how like established you are with the name and the talent, that you could sort of maybe get the owners on board that way and then get like local teams to start, and then you build from there slowly. That's but even then I think it's just that doesn't even get into all of the franchise ownership and how that would work and how the leagues would have to cooperate, and it would be a lot. I'll put it that way.
I have an interesting thought experiment here. So we all agree that maybe if there was pro-rel, more talent would be uncovered, like there'd be just more opportunities, and it would increase the standard of American soccer, right? If we did this with baseball or basketball or any other American sport, NFL, would it improve the standard, the overall standard of the game? Because the problem I see is that, the US doesn't really get challenged playing basketball, never gets challenged playing throw ball football. Like, it could be that the quality of players we're able to produce in these other sports is not as high as it should be, but there's no one to really test against. So
yeah, you notice it, the difference between NFL and then college football, where a lot of rookies, they get into the league and the standard is just wildly different. A lot of the rookies do not make it more. I think what's the average career of an NFL player? It's like 3-4 years.
Yeah.
So
and that's a good one.
And that's good. So there is that sharp drop off. I guess the difference is what you see. Let's say in England, the football league from top to bottom is the sport is such a part of the culture that you can have a Jamie Vardy come from nowhere and excel at the top. But in football, especially in sports, I guess our NFL football is such a sport where you don't have to be skilled per se. You just have to be, if you're incredibly athletic, you can be very good at some position and be the best in the world. And not be super skilled at a particular thing, as maybe carrying the ball.
Is there still time for me?
There's just plenty of time.
You got a shot, kid. I think we actually saw an example of this when the XFL existed. There were a couple players. One in particular was the quarterback. I can't remember his name. Ended up becoming the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Maddox?
Maddox.
Something,
not Tommy Maddox, was it?
That sounds familiar.
I think that's a baseball player. Yeah, this is the wrong
That's
podcast.
great. You might be thinking of Greg Maddox, but I think it was Tommy Maddox. I don't know.
I think it might be Tommy Maddox, but we had an example. This guy was let go by a team. They said he wasn't good enough. He proved he was. He got back in, and he played really well for a couple of years.
Yeah, Rod Smart, too, right? He Hate Me? I think that's one and the same.
Kurt Warner became a monster. He played in the Arena League until he got discovered.
There you go.
So there's opportunities for players, and there should be other divisions. There is no reason why we don't have a lower division football league for all those small towns that don't have a good college.
If we want to win the American Football World Cup, we need pro-rel for football.
I think we'll be all right winning the American the American Football World Cup.
It's just us versus Canada, right?
Pretty much. And even then.
Hey, this is Daryl and Taylor cutting into our own show.
It is indeed.
No Cooligans.
Take that, Cooligans.
Take that. This is the ad break. Today's show is sponsored by SeatGeek. Thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's show. Tell the people about SeatGeek, Taylor.
SeatGeek is the smartest, easiest way to get tickets to every type of live event, including the MLS All-Star Homegrown Game and the All-Star Game, I suppose. But our friend John, who's in town in Atlanta with us, used SeatGeek to get tickets to the Homegrown Game.
Yes, don't take our word for it. Take John's word for it that SeatGeek works. And we should say John is actually in the room. Can you confirm this, John? We're going to both point our mics at you. Can you confirm that SeatGeek works?
I give you my word.
John's word is gold. So the thing is, you get $20 off any SeatGeek purchase, your first SeatGeek purchase, when you use the code TSS. So you download the app, you enter the promo code TSS, and then with your first purchase, you get $20 off your first ticket purchase.
That's right. Buy a ticket for $15 and you're making money.
You certainly, that's genuinely true.
So if you want to try that, just download the SeatGeek app and enter the promo code TSS today. That's promo code TSS for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase.
SeatGeek, life's an event. We have the tickets.
All right. And with that said, I guess now we can get back to the Cooligans.
Next question comes from Danny Keane. Danny Keane wants to know, how big is the talent gap between Christian Pulisic and Weston McKennie? Who do you guys think will have a better club career, and which one of them will be more impactful for the national team? This is a tough question.
I don't think this is a tough question at all.
Oh, okay.
I mean, is it even that close? If people think I think Christian Pulisic is incredibly better than Weston McKennie. Not to put down Weston McKennie that much. But I think the gap is pretty clear.
I think you're crazy.
Okay.
I think you're talking about 20-year-olds.
Please tell me why.
We're talking about kids. You have no idea what they're going to.
No. Oh yeah, that's a different question. But I'm saying the
and
talent
how good they'll
gap.
be.
Yes. But the talent gap right now, I think Christian Pulisic is incredibly better than Weston McKennie.
Why so?
They're also playing two different positions.
I think that's the key.
Yeah.
I really do. I actually think Christian Pulisic is more eye-catching because he's dribbling at people down the wing and he's doing step-overs and going past people. But I think Weston McKennie, for example, Christian Pulisic could not do the ball-winning job that Weston McKennie does in central midfield and then be as calm and spray passes around like Weston McKennie does. I think this is one of those things that's actually really hard to judge because they do different things.
I agree with Christian to some extent that I think you're going to get more, like you're not never, but I think you're far less likely to see Weston McKennie linked with £70 million moves than you are Christian Pulisic because Alexis always says it, you pay for attacking players.
Yeah, you do.
And so I think you're always going to get...
sells tickets, isn't that the American phrase?
So.
Right.
Except Van Dijk.
What's that?
Except Van Dijk.
Except that. Yeah, good point. But I think so then you're going to see them him linked with more clubs, maybe people spending more money because he's attacking, because he scores goals.
Yeah.
Weston McKennie, I think of as more of one of those midfielders who 5 years from now, there's going to be all these think pieces written about how he's the underrated player and how he does all this stuff that you don't notice or whatever. People like to title articles to get people to click on them. And I think he'll maybe be more under the radar, whereas Christian Pulisic, because of what he's already done and what he's capable of doing as an attacker, I think he'll be the one who gets the headlines.
How about this for an answer? Christian Pulisic will have the flashier career and maybe play for the more high-profile club, but maybe over the long run, Weston McKennie will be more important to the US men's national team because he'll do a lot of stuff that maybe people don't recognize.
He doesn't hit the stat sheets.
Yeah.
The other thing is, if you take Christian Pulisic's pace just down a little bit, is he the same player?
Ooh, that's an interesting
Weston
question.
McKennie, I think, is, I don't want to say smarter, but I feel like he has to use his football knowledge, right? Because I'm speaking to an English
he
person.
reads the game.
Yeah, he has to read the game more. Christian Pulisic just
We
runs
don't even know
past
if he can
people.
read.
If he gets down to that situation, we don't even know if he can read. Hilarious. He is from Pennsylvania, so he probably can't. But I think he has most of his teeth, which is shocking. Am I allowed to say
Again,
that?
the opinions of Alexis Guerreros do not represent the opinions of the Total Soccer.
No, last time
Or
you
the
said-
other Cooligan.
Yeah, you said do not necessarily, which means there's a chance they do.
There's a chance they do.
I think Christian Pulisic is an absolutely incredible player, and I think he is going to have a better career as far as notoriety.
Yeah.
But if you look at what they both do, I actually would rather, if I were picking one to start a team, I'd pick Weston McKennie first.
Wow.
I don't think I disagree with that, strangely enough. I'm kind of surprised to hear myself say that because the other thing, speaking of picking a team, is Pulisic could get a move, right? He's linked with Chelsea, he's linked with Liverpool, he's linked with lots of other teams.
He's not signing a new contract. His contract expires in 2019, and he's sort of broken off negotiations with Dortmund.
And really, it's kind of a crapshoot when it comes to signing for a new team. Sometimes it works out really well and you reach new levels, and sometimes you find your way to the bench and you don't play that much. And if he goes from starting every game for Dortmund and being incredibly important to kind of falling off and starting every other game for, say, Chelsea, I don't know if he develops as much as
the
Weston
Ross Barkley move.
Exactly. I don't know if he develops. I know he doesn't develop nearly as much as Weston McKennie starting pretty much every game for Schalke and playing in the Champions League.
You're English. How different is Christian Pulisic right now than, let's say, how we thought of Theo Walcott?
I love that.
age?
I love that he told you you're English. You're English. do an English thing. Say English things.
Did you forget?
It was something of an accusation, right?
Hold this cane and this
Empire
stone.
wasn't my fault. So how different is Pulisic now to Theo Walcott when we were all excited?
Yeah,
about
the
him?
buzz and the excitement around Theo Walcott.
So the buzz around Pulisic when he was, say, 16 was the same as the buzz around Walcott when he was 16. But then Pulisic started playing for Dortmund and played in the Champions League. Walcott really took his time sort of rampant. Like, he went to the World Cup and didn't play, then went to Arsenal, didn't play for a little while. So I'd say at least just taking that little sliver of their career from, like, say, 16 to 19, Pulisic is outperforming Theo Walcott right now.
Right. But all right, my point was there was excitement for both.
Yeah, okay.
And look at someone like a Gareth Bale that probably wasn't that level of excitement at the youth until really he started to show well for Tottenham.
Yeah.
So things change. We're talking about 20-year-olds.
This is true.
You don't bet on the horse when they're born. You bet on them when you see them run. We've seen them run a little bit. We don't know what kind of player these guys are going to be
seen
until
one
they're 23.
furlong.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what that means.
You didn't just make that saying up, did you?
100%.
No, you
I
did
like
not.
it.
100%.
I like it.
Did you really?
Yeah.
That's an amazing saying.
I'm a goddamn comedian.
I'm going to steal that all the time and delete this part so it sounds like I came up with it.
All right, let's move on to our third question before they knock on the conference room door. Yeah. It's from Sandor Lehotsky, I'm going to say. How far could work rate theoretically take you? How far could just work rate theoretically take you? So Sandor wants to know, like, say you were a strong high school type player, but could sprint constantly without ever getting tired. Could you play in the Premier League? So this is almost like imagine a spell was cast on you, and you can just run. You can run forever. Could you make it in the Premier League on sort of athleticism and hard work alone?
I'm gonna get these two names mixed up. What was the team that played super defensively and was like in the 5th or 6th position in the Premier League? Is it Barnsley or Burnley?
Burnley.
All right, you could play for Burnley.
I disagree strongly, but Christian,
same here. I completely disagree. Well, the Premier League standard is the one that makes it very clear. The answer is no.
Yeah. But why is the answer no? We haven't said it yet.
I mean, the game is too fast.
Yep.
The level of skill required. I remember watching a interview with Pep Guardiola talking about why he admires footballers, right? And mainly because when from level to level and as the difficulty and increases, you see that what makes a great footballer is that they can do the same things everybody else can do, but they can just do it at such a faster pace. They can receive the ball faster. They can they're better touch. And at the Premier League, the level is too high to not be to be an expert in those levels.
I agree. Oh boy! All right, Alexis, you say wrong, and then I'll talk.
Oh, you could play for West Brom, who played terribly last year. You could play for Stoke City. You could play for Swansea.
You know how hard it is to stay up in the Prem?
No one said start. You have a guy that could sprint on end without
doesn't matter.
getting tired.
Right,
that's a bench player.
Here's a go. If he receives the ball, for example, he's got a loose touch. That ball's just bouncing off him. The opposition's getting it back. If he's running around, tries to tackle someone, doesn't have tackling technique, he's no good. If he's doesn't have soccer smarts to the Guardiola point, right? If he doesn't know where to be and what to do, he's no good. He's just like a headless chicken running around.
Did you watch West Brom?
Yes, and it was painful. What I would say though is that like. Two things here. One, Ocho Cinco had the trial with Sporting KC. How'd that work out? We've seen all of the stuff of Usain Bolt trying out with Dortmund and being linked with A-League and maybe Las Vegas. Like, speed in and of itself doesn't do that much, in my opinion. And I know that sounds crazy, but the reality is you can have a very fast player and you can have a pretty fast player. Just being very fast doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be better. And I think people like...
Does the same apply for work rate? Because the question is really about work rate. Yeah. You could just run all day.
And so I think my answer to that would then be like, you look at Park Ji-sung and people would always basically just say he just ran. Dirk Kuyt, same thing. He just ran. He's the Labrador. He runs and runs and runs. But that's not really what it is. It's the ability to run.
Where you run.
Yeah, when you run and how you run. If you're running into space at the right time, if you're cutting back at the right time and getting into defensive shape, that's more what it's about for me. It's the ability to do that from start to finish for 90 or 120 minutes, and Alexis is glaring at me.
All right, so Alexis is outvoted 3-1.
Okay.
Motion is passed. We're going to move on to the fourth question.
Hey folks, this is Taylor and Daryl cutting in one more time to tell you about our sponsor, 4Hims.
4Hims is sponsoring the Total Soccer Show. 4Hims is a hair loss solution for men. And not a fake solution, not one of the ones you get in a gas station. This is proper prescription strength stuff that will help with hair loss.
That's right. So we've got the homegrown player game tonight. I think they probably aren't too worried about hair loss since they're very young, but it is the case that majority of men, I think 66% of men lose their hair by the age of 35. Not a lot of players on the All-Star roster are at 35, but some are approaching. And if you've lost your hair already, then it's a little bit too late. But with 4Hims, you can slow down that process.
And if you want to try 4Hims, then you can get a 1 month supply via the Total Soccer Show for just $5. Where do people go to do that, Taylor?
Our listeners can get a trial month of 4Hims for just $5 today, right now, while supplies last. See the website for full details. This would cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or a pharmacy.
So don't spend hundreds. Don't go to a doctor or a pharmacy. Go to 4hims.com/total soccer. That's FORHIMS.com/total soccer. The URL one more time, Taylor?
Is 4hims.com/total soccer.
Thank you to 4Hims for sponsoring today's Total Soccer Show. Should we get back to the Cooligans?
We should, but apologies to any MLS All-Stars who we've offended with our baldness comments.
William Hagens.
He just whispered, I'm still right.
William Hagens
100%.
wants to know. Just get it on a t-shirt. William Hagens wants to know, do competitions like the ICC help teams at all? This is the International Champions Cup. It's the very expensive friendly tours that they do in the United States. Do competitions like the ICC help teams at all?
No.
William says, looking at the Barca roster, for example, at least 13 players are at Barca B. How is it helpful for the first team to have a preseason tournament where they don't get to play as a team? I feel like William's already answered his own question, but maybe I'll put it to the table.
I'll say this. Well, I was going to I guess before the ICC existed, they used to have those preseason friendlies across the country. And I remember, I think as an adult, the easy answer is no. It probably doesn't help the team very much. Mm-hmm. But you have to keep in mind that the people that are attending the games are probably a lot younger. Kids getting to see Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool. The kids who got to see Christian Pulisic, the kid who ran on the field to go get a photo of him. It is very important for those children. And from a branding perspective, Dortmund having that clip of that kid, accosting Christian Pulisic is huge for them because it helps their own branding. And I remember going to the first soccer game I ever went to was Real Madrid against Roma, and I got to see Zidane, I got to see Batistuta, just absolute legends. And I had no idea who the hell they were at the time, but I know that had a lasting influence on me. So for an adult, probably not a big deal. The ICC doesn't mean anything, but for the younger generation, a very big deal. And
so it doesn't help the team prepare for the season so much, but it does help them from a marketing
totally.
perspective.
That's
right?
exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah,
I don't know that it has an incredible effect on preparing, but there's something to be said for getting to see a Barca B player, as an example, seeing what they do and being like, oh, you know what? I've never seen them in this level of competition. I've never seen them going against maybe this type of player that I've seen them in Barca B games, and a coach now creating or getting some confidence in that player and putting them in the first team. So while there's certainly not this incredible opportunity to learn something, I think the most important part of ICC is the ICC futures. If all ICC does,
on this, right?
I'm huge on this. If all ICC does is make a bunch of money, boatload money, oil money, you know what I mean? If it makes that kind of money,
it's like $1,000 a ticket.
Oh my God, yeah. If all they do is make bank and all these teams go away saying, "Yo, that's great. We should do this every year because we're making a lot of money," and on the under that, all that money is helped to sort of subsidize this competition for our youth to play against better competition. That's great. I'm down for that.
And I don't want to cut you off.
No,
but,
I'm willing to.
But I think that is a good point because I don't know where I mentioned this before, but I remember we had Pablo Mauro on the show once, and we were talking about his interaction with Dwayne Di Rosario once, and he mentioned that there was a game DC United they weren't playing well, and it was late in the season. The game didn't matter, according to him. And Pablo Mauro asked him like, "Oh, how do you get excited for the games when they don't really matter?" And Dwayne Di Rosario was like, they don't matter to you. They're very, very important to me, right? So, and this is we just saw Jack Harrison, who was playing in the ICC with Manchester City, and now just signed. He's on loan with Leeds United. So clearly, for the players themselves, even though these players are not going to be playing on the Manchester City first team, but for the players themselves, it is almost their only opportunity to showcase themselves to the world. And if they can play well, and they can probably get a contract somewhere else.
But didn't we begin this episode by talking about how the Juve players don't care and don't want to be here for this game? And it's a lose-lose. I guess that's what I feel.
I mean, I don't know what he's
apparently the All-Star players don't want to be here either.
Zlatan doesn't, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing for me is I've literally never heard a manager at the end of the season say "Oh, we won this title because of the preseason tour in the International Champions Cup or whatever it is."
And we've heard Jose Mourinho complaining about having to do the ICC this year.
And I would say we've heard
Jose.
I've heard Jurgen Klopp talk about when he was at Mainz. He took the Mainz club to this small isolated area, and they trained, and it became this team unit, and that's how they were able to function. And he kind of took that ethos to Dortmund when he took over there. You don't hear them talk about the International Champions Cup the same way because I genuinely think they think it's a distraction. They think I don't have my full strength team. We're not actually training together. We're kind of stretched out. We're all over the place. We get back just in time.
Flying all over the United States, and our training facility changes every day. You
That's
spend
my
probably
feeling.
half the time packing and unpacking. It's like being on the World Cup comedy tour.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
No,
Just like it.
This is more exhausting.
Maybe better hotels. Right?
Hey, ICC players, don't eat pizza in Omaha.
I'll also say I'm pretty sure the ICC players aren't driving from city to city in a passenger, not even a passenger van, just a van or a Ford F-150. So I think their accommodations slightly better, slightly more luxurious.
All right.
Less intimate, though, I'm sure.
Final.
Actually, you got a point there. It would probably bond them together more if they were all just crammed into one truck.
They all just got a couple Corollas. All right, get to Kansas City on time, guys.
Adjacent hotel rooms, thin walls.
There we go.
Indeed.
There we
All
go.
right, final question. It comes from Jeff Markman. Jeff Markman wants to know, does any international team now or in recent history have as much Ewing theory, trademark Bill Simmons, potential as Argentina. I guess first question, do you guys know what Ewing theory is?
No idea.
But
Taylor,
Patrick Ewing is a god.
Taylor, would you like to describe Ewing theory to our friends, the Cooligans? I'm also shocked you guys don't know this.
I believe it's a Bill Simmons thing, which he stole from somebody else. He stole from a friend of his. But it was basically, I think...
but he trademarked it, so...
It was like...
Hold on a second. I literally have a cramp from playing soccer.
Oh, boy. Straighten that leg. Straighten that leg. You going to be all right?
Oh, wait, so while Christian does that, we should mention we played at the Marta 5 Points station this morning.
I did not
It's
stretch,
great, right? They've got that little 5-a-side field at the 5 Point station. It was great fun to play there. But that's also why Christian has cramp.
Yeah.
Remember, kids, if you never play,
Stretch
you
it
never
out. Stretch it
cramp.
out.
Yeah. I didn't stretch after the kids. You have to stretch after the game.
Eat a banana. Get that potassium in
Also,
you.
please don't edit this out. This is a very good
no, we can-
sincere moment.
I really did just straighten my legs out because you said that. Now I'm concerned.
I admire your professionalism for continuing.
So it's a Bill Simmons idea that basically the best season, I think like when Patrick Ewing got injured, I think it was, that everybody wrote the Knicks off, and basically because he wasn't there anymore, people thought, oh, he's going to be, like, the Knicks are going to be terrible, and instead I think that's when they made like a deep playoff run. And it became this idea that...
Alexis is busy Instagramming.
I'm listening,
Christian's
though.
cramp.
Basically, it became the idea that like there's this player that everybody thinks is fundamentally important to having success. Then when the team didn't have that player, they actually had more success. So the idea here would be that once, if and when, still don't know if Leo Messi is mortal, so I don't know if he will ever retire, but the idea would be that if and when he retires, that's when Argentina will have success.
So what do you guys think about that?
I mean, I think it's tough to say no because he is such the focus that you can't. No player stops thinking about where Messi is on the field on either team.
That's the problem.
On both teams. And
Yeah.
it's kind of annoying. I remember being a fan of the Knicks during the Patrick Ewing era, and I'm a big Patrick Ewing fan. So I was like, what, you guys are crazy. There's so much better with him. He's a monster. And I was like, no, he's better without him. This is kind of happening now with NYCFC and David Villa.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, now that he's injured, Ismail Tajuri-Shradi is scoring so many goals. People are like, wait a minute, maybe we're better without David Villa because everyone's worried about giving David Villa the ball, letting him shine. I kind of feel like there'll be a more calmness when Messi's gone, but everyone's going to regret losing Messi, just like us Knicks fans did with Ewing.
Christian?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think
You hate saying that because I'm the one talking.
I do agree. I think just that example of but the only issue is that when you remove Messi, then it's not just that because people are not paying attention to him that the team will improve. I do think it allows a bit more flexibility for coaching.
Yep,
and now you can build something around
The whole team.
Around the whole team, and not just focus. And so it's more of a coaching thing. After, I think there's a bit more freedom to do kind of what you want.
Yeah.
And you don't have to. And not to say that Leo Messi is some sort of diva, but he's earned all the respect, and clearly you have to game plan with him in mind.
Yeah, exactly. So, but when he's gone, maybe you can game plan with still talented players like Dybala, and maybe Dybala and Higuain and everybody else can produce something that's more effective than just let's always give the ball to Leo Messi.
Yeah, and I think like to that point, like you look at the debate is always Messi Ronaldo, which to me is dumb, but you look like Portugal go on to win the Euros, and yes, Ronaldo's not on the field when they do that, but when Ronaldo leaves, I think there is that drop in class. Like they don't have that next level player in Portugal right now. Argentina, I mean, we've already mentioned Dybala. They have several other very, very talented players who can fill those shoes and make them a more competitive team right away.
Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention is that even though, like, when I think Ewing theory, the only issue is that in basketball, you can't have just one player. Clearly, LeBron James, Russell Westbrook. You can have in that sport, you can have one person that can completely dominate a game. Soccer is just not that sport.
I don't know the percentages because I'm not good at math, but that's literally like 1 out of 5 versus 1 out of 11.
Yeah.
So obviously the odds are against you more in soccer.
But also, don't they say in soccer you're only as strong as your weakest link?
There we go.
I think the issue with Messi is that he is such a focus for both teams that defenders are finding ways to frustrate him, and his own players are getting frustrated not being able to sort of solve it for
I would
them.
say you're not as strong as your strongest link either.
Yeah.
Right?
And then you don't. If you're just focused so much on Messi, you're not protecting your weakest link, because that's what you need to do sometimes is protect your weakest link. Portugal, for example, what they did really well is that they've got old centre backs, right? They're like 35, 36 years old. They game planned around having defensive midfielders in front of Pepe and Bruno Alves to make sure they were protected. And then like the Ronaldo thing is not the focal point. They're protecting the centre backs, the weakest link things is the focal point.
Yeah. I would say this is a very obvious thing to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. It will really come down to the tournament after Messi retires.
Yeah.
Is really the case, because I keep thinking of like Pelé retiring, like, no. Brazil didn't, like, win the next World Cup. Maradona retires, they didn't win the next World Cup. But if Messi retires and they win Copa America or they win the World Cup, then you have your answer right there.
Yeah, okay, so here's what I think the answer is. It's what Taylor just said, but it's also that Argentina have been so sort of almost comedically catastrophic in many ways in recent years, like, missing penalty kicks and all that sort of stuff, that it seems like they should have had this success and they didn't, that there's a good chance that they will get better after Messi because of that.
Brazil definitely didn't win the 1974 World Cup, right?
They did not.
Okay, cool.
They did get to the final of the World Cup and the final of the Copa America twice.
I guess, I'm just thinking it's a recency bias, right? Because I'm thinking of 2018.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. Okay.
I throw a lot of shots at Argentina. I want to give them one good luck.
Don't you got Maradona on your head right now, don't you?
Huh?
You have Maradona on your head right now, don't you?
Maradona.
There we go.
Maradona is, I think, the greatest of all time, but just because of what he did for Napoli.
All right. Well,
Shouts to Napoli.
They're not sponsoring the show, but shout out to Talisman Caps.
Yeah.
I like those caps. Should we end with Alexis being right? We'll give him his... We'll make his dreams come true.
Wow, I don't know. We started with me being right. I was right throughout. Finished with me being right.
All right. Taylor Rockwell, Alexis Guerreros, Christian Polanco, thank you all for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, listeners, for listening. If you want to hear about the homegrown game, if it happens, it's thundering outside right now. It might not happen. Please listen to the Top Draw Soccer Show. Go find that show. We'll be reviewing the homegrown game over there. Until then, it's goodbye from us, and we'll talk to you again later this week.
Indeed.
You gotta slice it.